What is going on, everyone? It is your boy Calb back at it again, and I sort of want to make a part 2 to this video on screen. I made it a few days ago talking about a Harrow build that I had for evade, and there's a few variants of this build. What the important part is that your melee weapon, you basically forget about it, you're playing Harrow. If you like a melee weapon for Harrow, throw it on. But it is mainly a just primary and secondary build, and there are two weapons that I like the most. It is going to be the Tenet Galaxion, which I have a blast variation that I use. It is this variation. I like this. It's fun, and it's just as simple as that. Pretty basic mods too. Like, you don't need to go too hard out of your way. Like, there's no prime mods, so you can farm this whenever you want, and it's pretty good. It's pretty nice. The only hard things would probably be spectral duration and primary acuity, maybe primary crux, because those are newer mods and arcanes. But I really do like this Tenet Galaxion with these mods. If you want to use a cold variant, there's like two that you can use. Right here, you would put, instead of the hammer shots, you would put the Galaxion mod for cold. And then here, instead of viral acceleration, you would put the mod there for the Tenet Galaxion. It all uses primary crux. I think primary crux is pretty strong, especially for beam weapons. You just apply so much status, and then if you have the extra status chance with the multiplier, it goes crazy. Like, you're just, especially for blast builds, it just stacks up so fast. And then the ammo efficiency, it helps so much that you can combine it with, if you want even more, maximum ammo. It's free, it's easy. There's not much thinking required. And then you probably are going to want to put Sinister Beam or Sinister Reach right there. All easy mode. Not a lot of thinking required with this weapon. If you want to use a more, like, I guess, higher end, like you need to kill like a big target, the Fenmore is recommended with a primer. I use the Compressa personally. I don't have the Fenmore fully built out because I don't like the Fenmore variant, but the Fenmore does hit for big damage numbers. I'm no joke. I've hit 20 million with the Fenmore just from crits. It's pretty nice. And that's 20 million per shots on a headshot. So if you're full firing, full auto, just imagine you're hitting 20 million shots, or you're hitting 20 million damage shots per second. You do big damage, right? Nothing really to scoff at, and you would equip a primer with it. But we're going to put on the Galaxion because that is the weapon I find the most enjoyable. Now, for secondaries, obviously, Dual Toxicus is probably going to be your best bet. It's just easy headshots, easy mode. And if you have Galvanized Crosshairs, which is just a basic corrosive Dual Toxicus build, you're going to do a lot of damage, like big crit numbers. Like, I've done, I think at max 2.2 million damage a headshots. And those are shooting really fast, ricocheting between enemies. You're doing big damage, and there's very little effort. Don't have to try too hard. Another weapon that you could use is you could use Compressa if you need a primer. You could use a crit latum variation, a Lex Prime with Incarnon. I really ended up liking using the Furus. Now, it's not necessarily a crit weapon. However, it is fun to use. You do hit decently high numbers and you melt enemies pretty fast. While it is not the best option, it is a fun option. There's a lot of things you can do here. I do eventually want to make a catch moon for like a kit gun. Just try to like push Harrow to like as fun as possible with evade. Compressa, you really want to use not Frontier. I mean, if you want to have Overguard, you can use Frontier. But secondary, Invenerate. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Invenerate. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm very sorry. I have a negative crit chance Rivet, negative crit chance, and I'm hitting red crits with this. It's very funny. The multiplier is pretty high. A 7.3 is not something like the scoff hat. And then it gets even higher, especially when you're in red crit territory and when you're invisible with Harrow. When you're invisible with Harrow, you get a +3 of final crit multiplier with this arcane. And that turns that 7.3 into a 10. And that 10 becomes an even larger number because of how crit multipliers work. I'll show you the formula on screen right now, especially when it's a headshot, it gets even doubled. So it's very funny. Unfortunately, I don't think Compressa is the greatest weapon for headshots, which is why we're using Dual Toxis, because it literally aims at the head for you. I don't think I really need to explain why that is just so absurdly powerful, but I think you guys get the point. Especially when this weapon has a higher crit to multiplier and way higher crit chance. So basically every red crit you're hitting is hitting for big fucking damage numbers while having a big multiplier. And because this is corrosive, and I'm using 2 emerald shards because we don't really need too much. Like, honestly, you could remove this shard and this build will be fine. Like, the only 2 shards that I've felt like are needed are 2 corrosive shards, just so you can have a form of armor stripping, because that's what this build is missing. In terms of survivability, you're surviving because you're not even being shot at. In terms of duration and strength, you just only build into those things. You could remove the shard and be fine. I decided to opt to put a shield mod here, even though it's not necessarily required. It just makes your penance last 2 minutes instead of 1 minute and 40 seconds. So it's just extra duration that you wouldn't get otherwise. And if you want to replace this with more strength, go ahead, but it's going to be smaller benefits that you think. You're already going to get strength from just killing enemies and then using, like, you're getting 30 strength from here, 60 strength from here, which is 90 strength, which boosts you to 333 strength, which is already a lot. Like, you don't need too much more strength. It, I guess, helps with Covenant, but once you start this rolling, you practically never re-roll it again until you get hit by a nullifier or you get hit by an, what's it called, an acolyte that reduces or gets rid of your abilities. But outside of that, you're doing pretty fine. In terms of the pets, it's the same pet I used in my Mesa video recently. It is just a crit and fire rate pet. It also has synth mods for health orbs. Honestly, these aren't required, but why not take them? It reloads your primary and secondary weapon, increases the armor on your pets, just in case that they get to a point when armor gets destroyed somehow. It's very hard for you to die and your pets to die in this build. You just need to be in a position to where you can die. Throughout this video, I've been showing gameplay. It's not super high end, but you can take this super high end if you wanted to. It's not much needed to this build. And yeah, that's about it. My next 2 videos are going to be very different from what I'm doing in the most recent videos. I hope you like it. It's more of a commentary on Warframe and Destiny and both states of the game, what I like about both of them, what I dislike about both of them. You guys will see that hopefully within the next week. Other than that, guys, peace out. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a good one.